Kadosh, Boker Or, Masechet Kiddushin Daf Nun Amud Aleph 58:1. So we're just going to start from the Mishnah on Memtet Amud Bet 49b. The Mishnah says, what happens if a person gets married to a woman and he tells her, Al Menat Shani Kohen, on condition that I am a Kohen. And then he wasn't a Kohen, he was a Levi, or a Levi, and he was a Kohen. Or he comes and he says that he's a Natin, and really he was a Mamzer, and he was found to be a Natin. A Natin was these people, right, from the Givonim that they converted, right, during a certain period, and then afterwards he was found to be a Mamzer, not a Natin or a Mamzer, a Natin. He comes and he says, I'm a person that lives in the city. And then really Be'emet, he was a Ben Krach, he was actually from a villager, right, or a big city, an Ir Ktanat or an Ir Gdula, or from a Ben Krach, and then he was found to be a Ben In. Al Menat Shebeti Karov La Menchatz, on condition that my house is going to be close to the Menchatz, right? So what does he say? Which means my condition that my house is close to the bathhouse, and it was found to be distance, and it was found to be close. Al Menat Sheyesh Lo Bato Shivcha Megudelet, right? Ve'enlo. What happens if he comes and he says, listen, I've got a daughter, or I've got a Shivcha, which she's old enough to take care of me, and he doesn't, or the opposite, Al Menat She'enlo, and he does have. I'm not saying nobody, he doesn't have children. He does have children on the condition that he does have children. He doesn't have children. In all these cases, even though she said, lo right, that still I wanted to get married even if he didn't have all these things, meaning that she didn't really care about it. She's not going to be married. But since she didn't say so mefurash during the time of the Kiddushin, zizwalo, it's nothing. Okay. Says the Mishnah, the same lacha, if she made him make a mistake, meaning that she went and she tricked him and any of these things. She comes and she says she's the daughter of a Kohen, she's not, she's the daughter of a Levi, or so on and so forth. The same halachot would apply. Says the Gemara, on the bottom of Memtet Amubet, says the Gemara, Ha'u Gavra, Tezabin lenichse adata lemisach le'eretz Yisrael. There was a person that he came and he sold his properties that he wanted to do aliyah le'eretz Yisrael. Ubeina dezabin lo amar lo midi, but at the time that he sold it, he didn't actually say anything. Yeah, he didn't say anything. And then at the end, he didn't go to do aliyah to Eretz Yisrael. So he wanted to be mvatel lemekach. Amar Rava says, Hava dvarim shebalev. These are things which are in the heart. Udvarim shebalev and undvarim, and it's nothing. Meaning, what do I care right now that you were selling it because you wanted to do aliyah to Eretz Yisrael? And all of a sudden, I didn't know that. Yeah, you said that there was a condition. There was no condition, no nothing. All of a sudden, something happened, force majeure, you didn't do aliyah to Eretz Yisrael. So now I have to give it back to you. Why in the world would I do that? For sure not. Dvarim shebalev is nothing. So says the Gemara, Menale le Ravaha, how does Rava know this halacha? If you're going to tell me it's that which we learned in a Mishnah, right? We are Nun Amud Aleph on the top, 58:1 on the top. Where in the Mishnah it says to do with the Korban Olah. It says to do with the Korban Olah, Zachar Tamim Yakrivenu. What does that mean? Yakriv Oto. What do you mean Yakriv Oto? You're going to bring it. Melamed Shekofin Oto. They come, and if a person came and he made a neder to bring a Korban, and then all of a sudden he says, you know what, I don't want to bring a Korban. They force him to be Mekayim the neder. They force him to bring the Korban. Yachol Bal Korcho, I would have thought to say that Mamash, they bring a Bal Korcho. Tamulomar, Lirtsono. Because it says, Yakriv Oto Lirtsono. It has to be with his will. So how do you do that? The guy doesn't want to bring it. So therefore you have to force him. But you're not supposed to force him, he has to bring it willingly. So how does he do it? No. We force him until he says, I want to bring it. Meaning we're going to beat him up until he actually says, I want to bring it. So therefore, at the end of the day, we do have to force him, which that's what we said, because he doesn't want to bring it. But mitzad sheni, he has to say that, I want to bring it. So says the Gemara, he says, 1 second. Why is it considered lirtzono in such a case that it's kilu his will? In his heart, he doesn't want it. Ela lav, but rather, mishum damnin, as we say, dvarim shebalev and dvarim. Because whatever's in the heart is nothing. And since whatever's in the heart is nothing, it doesn't apply. So ask the Gemara, the Dilma Shanehata, maybe over there it's a little bit different. Whereas we are the witnesses, really be'emet, he doesn't want a kapara. Which means like this. In the case of Stam, a person that wanted to sell his house to do aliyah to Eretz Yisrael, we don't know if it was good for him or not good for him. Maybe it should have been better that he just rented it out. We don't know. So okay, he sold it, he didn't mention it. Dvarim shebalev, nothing. But over here, he wants it's a korban. A korban is an atonement. It's good for him. So therefore, even though he's coming, he's telling us now he doesn't want to bring it. That doesn't help. He doesn't want to bring it. He wants it. Yeah. Ella, but rather from the Seifa. That's what you find by Gitei Nashim v'Shuchrei Avadim. By Gitei Nashim and Shuchrei Avadim. Kofino to at Shiomar Rotzeani. To do with the Gitei Nashim and Shuchrei Avadim also. When the husband is obligated to divorce his wife, or the master is obligated to be mishachrer, to come and to free up his servant, and he doesn't want to do it, we force him until he says, Rotzeani. Now why? It's not good. Meaning he doesn't want to divorce his wife, or he doesn't want to come and free his slave. Because we actually said, which means that whatever's in the heart is nothing. Therefore, we're going to come and say that the giving is miritzano. In his heart, he doesn't want to give it. What do I care about his heart? Right now, he's giving it. He's doing an action. The action is stronger than your words. So than your heart, whatever your mind says. So therefore, that's it. So says the Gemara, maybe it's different over there also. The deal mashanehata, maybe it's different over there. Mishum the mitzvah lishvat chachamim. You have a mitzvah to listen to the chachamim. Chachamim come and say you have to give a get to your wife. Chachamim come and say you have to give a shtar shichrur to your slave. So in such a case, because there's a mitzvah to listen to divrei chachamim, I would say that even though it could be that keilu, maybe in your heart you don't know, but I know that you want it because you want to really be'emet. It's good that you should listen to divrei chachamim. That's what you should really be doing. Ela amar Rav Yosef, but rather Rav Yosef comes and he says. From here, it says, "Amkadesh et Isha." If a person comes and he's going to be mekadesh et Isha without a condition, the Amar and he says, "Kesavur aiti shi kohenet." He comes and says, "Listen, I thought she was a kohenet. Vari Levian, she's only Levian, or Levian, she was found to be a kohenet. Aniya, she was poor. I thought that, and then she's actually rich. She's rich, and I thought that she was poor. Mekudeshet, she is going to be married. Because at the end of the day, she didn't make a mistake. He made a mistake himself, meaning he assumed that she was rich, or he assumed that she was a kohen. She didn't make him. If she came and she lied to him or she tricked him, something different. That's our Mishnah. Mishnah says she went and he tato. So you're right. Ena mekudeshet. He or she didn't do anything. He thought that she was rich and she was poor, or he thought that she was poor and she was rich. She didn't do anything. She didn't say anything. So therefore, that's it. So says the Gemara, why? Ha'kamar, he said, right, that I thought that this was the case, right? And it's not like that. So the Kiddushin was a ta'ut. But rather for sure because we say, it's nothing. So Elmaleh comes and he says, maybe there it's different. Because there we're going to say that it was a chumrah, which means we're going to be machmidim and say that maybe she's mekudeshet misafek, and she can't get married to anybody else. But not that for sure she's mekudeshet, right? And therefore, why? Because it's not 100% that we're not really sure about the Varim Shebalev. And therefore, misafek, we say, you know what, you're married. Why? Safek married. Because we're not sure exactly what happened over here. So you're going to be safek. It's going to be a doubt. And it's a chumrah. So says the Gemara, but rather Abaye says, you're right. There's another Mishnah. The Mishnah at the end of Memtet Amubet, where it said, Bekulam in all the cases, even though she said, it doesn't matter the circumstances, I would have still got married to him. She's not going to be mekudeshet. Why? She said it was in my heart. So you see from here the what? Right? That even though it was in her heart to get married, even though it was wrong, everything that he said or whatever it is, doesn't matter. The Varim Shebalev is nothing. So says the Gemara, that's also not a proof from the Mishnah. You know why? Once he made a condition, he doesn't have the strength to uproot this condition. Meaning he had a condition. He doesn't have the strength to uproot this condition, and that's why it doesn't work. But rather, Rav Chia bar Avin says, Uvda hava berav chasta. He says this was a case with Rav Chasta. Rav Chasta beravuna. And Rav Chasta went to the Bet HaMidrash of Rav Huna. Upashtua meha. And they actually were machriya the din, according to this. Haomer lishlucho. If somebody comes and he tells the shaliach, haveli mina chalon, or mina druskema, go bring me money from the money, go bring me money from that I have on the windowsill. Aledena chalon. Or from the druskema. There's a basket, right? And then you're going to buy things in the shuk. Veviulo, he bought it, right? So he went and he brought him money from the kis of Ekdesh instead of from these things. And he bought. Even though the Balabait says Lo ya belibi al zeh. He says, I didn't know that they had Ma'ut Chulin. Right? And not another one that had the Hekdesh. Kevan shevilo mizeh balabait mal. The second that he brought it, the balabait is considered that he did Milah, and therefore he's chayav to pay back the principal and add a fifth, and he's obligated to bring a korban hasham, a guilt offering, because he did Milah. Why? Because since the shaliach did his shlichut, so therefore the maaseh goes back to the balabait. So it's kilu the balabait took out the money. Meaning, usually we come and we say, and shliach l'dvar avera, if the shliach is doing the avera, because we tell the shliach, what are you doing the avera? Because he sent you, what are you doing? Well, you're the messenger, you also get punished. Imagine a guy comes and he kills somebody. And then he said, no, somebody sent me. Well, I apologize, you killed. Why are you listening to the guy that killed you? So obviously he's going to get punished as well. Here, the shliach didn't know it was Ma'ut Hekdesh. How was he going to know it was Ma'ut Hekdesh? He did the shlichut to the balabait. So since he did the shlichut to the balabait, and he comes back to the balabait and he gives him the money, so if he's going to be chayav, so therefore the balabait is chayav, not the shliach. The shliach didn't know anything was wrong. He had no idea what's going on. So says the Gemara, V'amai, why is the Meshaleach going to be chayav? Hakaman, he said, Lo ya b'libi, I didn't know that this, I only had in my heart the money, which was the chulin in it, not the money of the hekdesh, elalav, because rather, why? Because we're going to say, Dvarim shebelev, Dvarim. Whatever's in your heart is nothing, is worthless. So says the Gemara, the din mashanehata, maybe it's different over there. He wants to be poteret himself from a korban hasham, from a korban milah, and therefore he's mishaker and saying that's what he had in his heart, right? And that's why we're not going to be mikabel etanato. But in the case of Rava, when we see that the person really be'emet was trying to go up to do Aliyat to Eretz Yisrael, and then there was an honest that happened, a force majeure, something happened, he wasn't able to do it. Maybe be'emet was not like what he said. It's completely different. When he wants to exempt himself from a korban, it's a different halacha. Here, it's something completely different. So says the Gemara, right? Really, be'emet, we're not going to suspect that the Mshaleach is lying to exempt himself from the korban. Because if he wanted to, he could have just said that he did it b'mezid. Right? That means he remembered that the money was Ekdesh. And he still commanded him to do it. And then, if you do it b'mezid, you don't have to bring a korban. A korban on Milah is only if it was done in Shogeg, not done b'mezid. And therefore, he could have just said that he did it b'mezid. And he's going to be patur from a korban. So why should he lie and say that he didn't realize it was Ekdesh in order to exempt himself from a korban? If he wanted to exempt himself from a korban, he could have just said that he did it b'mezid. And then that's it. He doesn't have to do it anymore. Okay? Now, the Gemara does not like this svara. Because the Gemara says, Lo avid inish temash v'nasher shia. A person does not like to make himself into rasha. Meaning a person that comes and he says that I did it b'mezid, and I went and I did this, he's making himself into a rasha. And since he's making himself into a rasha, a person doesn't really like to come and to do that. So says the Gemara, so he should have said, Niskarti, I remember that the money was Ekdesh. And therefore, that means when he sent the Shaliach, it's true. He didn't remember. But then he remembered that the amount was Ekdesh, which means when he actually did the Milah, so therefore it's not considered Shogeg, and he's patur from a korban. Tanya, Niskar Balabay v'lo Niskar Shliach, Shliach mal. If the Balabay remembered, right, before the Shliach came and he used the money, and the Shliach did not remember, so the Shliach did the Milah, and the Balabay is patur. Right? So he comes and he says over here, we said that even though en shliach l'dvar avera mikom makom, to do the milah there is shlichut, and the mshaleach is going to be chayav, right, on the milah of the shliach, and the shliach is going to be patur. However, though, this is only going to be right when it's going to be a chiyuv of korban on the mshaleach. But in the case where it's going to be patur on the korban, so then we don't say that. So here the question is, right? He comes and he says we should believe him because he should have said in such a case, right? He comes and he says that since even though the Mishnah is not going to be Mekabel L'Tana, still it's probably the Muchach that Dvarim Shebelev and not Dvarim, just like the words of Rava. Another story of a guy that he wanted to sell his properties, but he's going up to Eretz Yisrael. Salik v'lo yitzdarle. So he went up to Eretz Yisrael, but he didn't have the Atzlacha, and then he had to come back. Right? It happens with a lot of the people. They come, they do Aliyah, and then they have to come back down. Right? That means it wasn't their time yet. So Amar Rava comes and he says, "Call the Salikadait Elamedarhu." He says, no, when you go up to Eretz Yisrael, it's in order to live there. He didn't live there at the end. He was there a little bit of time. He realized he couldn't. He had to come back down. So he didn't live there. So some people say, that Somebody said, no, you wanted to go up. He did go up, right? And therefore it was already enough. So what's halacha? Right? So therefore, because of that, he can't say that, that he becomes a null because he did actually go up. There was somebody else also that he sold his properties to go up to Eretz Yisrael, and at the end he didn't go. So Rashi comes and he says, if he really bemet wanted to go, he would have gone up. And therefore, since it's talui bo, even though he didn't go up, the mecher is not batel. Why? If he didn't go, it means that he didn't want to go. So therefore, that's it. So some people say, that if bemet he wanted to go up, right? He wouldn't have gone up. For sure he wouldn't have gone up. So what's the difference? When he's already starting this path, and on the path there's an onus. Meaning that he had everything ready. He started going in on the path. Remember, he was traveling. It wasn't like nowadays you come and you take a flight and 10 hours you're there. Right? No. It was mamash, you had to travel. So on the way there was an onus. So on the way and the onus, that's going to be the difference between them. So we're at the Mishnah on Nun Amud Aleph. So it says the Mishnah, Daf Nun Amud Aleph, we are on the first Mishnah in the middle of the page. Because there's going to be another 2 Mishnayot on this page. So this Mishnah comes and it says this. Somebody that comes and he says to a Shaliach, go and get married to me, to this woman in this certain place. And he went and he got married to her in another place. She's not mekudeshet. If he tells her that she's in this certain place and then he got married to her in another place, she is mekudeshet. Why? The first one, he went and he told her, get married to me, to this woman in this place. So therefore, it was kilu, he was makpi, that it had to be to this woman and in this place. When he just says, get married to me to a woman, by the way, she's in here, he was just telling him where he was. So if he went and he found her somewhere else, it's fine. There's no problem. It was just like a manim makom that he showed her. It wasn't more than that. Okay? Fine. Says the Gemara, Utnan Nami. We learned also in a Mishnah Gabegitim. If somebody comes and he says, give this get to his wife in this certain place, and he gave it to her in another place, it's going to be pasul. But if he just says that she's found in a certain place and he gives it to her in another place, she's going to be kosher. Why? It was a memakom. Utzricha, we need both cases, not only to do with the gitin, also to do with kiddushin. Why? Utzricha. Because if it's going to teach us by kiddushin, because there he's trying to be mekarevota, to get married to her. In this place, they like me. And therefore, they're not going to say something bad about me in front of the woman. But in the other place, maybe they hate me. So that's why he Davka wanted, right, a place where they like him, not a place where they don't like him. But to do the gitin, that he's trying to get rid of her, trying to distance her, I would say, what does he care where he's getting divorced? In a place where they hate him anyway. Anyway, he's throwing her out. He's getting rid of her. You understand? So therefore, it just doesn't make sense. Now, if you're going to tell me by Gerushin, right? In this country, it says that it's going to be in front of the people of that it's going to be of a bizoya, like bazot, to become how do you call it, disgraced. In this city, it's not going to be good. But to do with kiddushin, I would say to do with kiddushin, right? I would say that they don't care. So tzricha. So that's why they need both cases. Okay, so to do the kiddushin, I would say, listen, in this case, he doesn't really care, right? Because he doesn't care to be embarrassed. But in the other place, he doesn't want to be embarrassed in the other place. But to do a kiddushin, he would say, wow, he doesn't care, right? It's going to be Hechal the kiddushin any place. What does he care where it's going to happen, right? Because usually divorce, especially, right, was something of an embarrassment. It was something of they were embarrassed to say that they got divorced. Because of that, it was going to be an embarrassment. Says the next Mishnah. There's the second Mishnah on the page, a little bit further down, towards the bottom. Hamkadesh Isha, somebody that's going to get married to a woman. On condition that she doesn't have any nidarim on her. And she does have nidarim. Ena mekudeshet, she's not going to be mekudeshet. Kinsa stam, if he got married to her stam, he didn't ask her, does she make nidarim, nothing. Kinsa stam, she goes out without a ketubah. We're going to have to say why. Because basically he could just say, I don't want a woman that she's always making nidarim. Like, I don't want a woman that she's always doing these things. What happens if he makes a condition, she doesn't have any moons? And then there are moons. She's not mekudeshet. But if you got married to her stam and then they found a mumin, she should go out without a ketubah. Shekol hamumim, because all the mumim, poslin b'kohanim, which are going to be posel by kohanim, are going to be posel benashim. Any mum which disqualifies a kohen from doing the service of Bet HaMikdash is also going to disqualify a woman to her husband, because it's considered mamash a blemish, and therefore it's not going to be a good marriage. Okay? Says the Gemara. Okay, says the Gemara. Utznana migabe ketuvat ki agavna. He says we also learn by ketubot the exact same halacha to do with whether it's a case where a woman comes out from her husband without a ketubah. So if we already learned it by ketubot, why do we have to learn it here? So answers the Gemara, hacha over here, kiddushin itzrichale. We needed to teach you the chidush of kiddushin. Tana ketubot atu kiddushin. And we learn ketubot by kiddushin. Hatam over there, ketubot itzrichale. We needed to teach you the Tana by ketubot, and therefore we learn kiddushin atu ketubot. Meaning like this. Really, Be'emet, you're right. We didn't need it. But agav, meaning once you already mentioned it, we also mentioned the other halacha as well. So by kiddushin, we needed it. And by kiddushin, we already mentioned by the ketubot. But once by ketubot, we needed by the mention by ketubot, and by the ketubot, we already mentioned derech agav the kiddushin. Last mishnah on the page. Okay, Nun Amud Aleph to the second last line. Hamkadesh shte nashim v'shaveh pruta. What happens if you get married to two women with one shaveh pruta, or isha achad b'vachom v'shaveh pruta, or with one woman with less than a shaveh pruta? Afal pi sheshalach zivlonot, even though he came and he sent her presents and all these things. La'achar mikan, afterwards, Nun Amud Bet 50b. Ena mekudeshet. She's not going to be mekudeshet. Why? Because he only sent her the presents because of the first kiddushin. Now the first kiddushin was not a good kiddushin. So for everything that he sent afterwards was nothing. Right? V'chein katan shekidesh. The same halacha will apply if a katan gets married to a woman and then afterwards he became a gadol and he sent her presents and everything. Shum davar. Why? He's only sending it according to the first kiddushin. The first kiddushin was nothing. Okay? Fine. Says the Gemara. Gemara, second line, and Una Mubet, 50b. Utzricha. We need all three cases of the Mishnah, right? The Yashmina, but if you're going to tell me now the case of two women with a Shaveh Pruta, I did the Kanafik Mamona Mine Tae, right? Since he was already taking out money, he made a mistake. And he thought that the two women could get married with a Shaveh Pruta, and it's really Shaveh Pruta for each one. But if it's one woman with less than a Shaveh Pruta, I would have thought to say that he knows. He knows. So when he was coming and he was sending the presents, he's sending it for Kiddushin, not for the meaning. By the two women with one Shaveh Pruta, he made a mistake. He thought you could get married with Shaveh Pruta. He didn't realize that every woman needs a Shaveh Pruta. But in the second case, that it's only one Shaveh Pruta for a woman and he gave less, he knows that it wasn't going to go to Kiddushin. So when he sent the presents afterwards, for sure he sent it for Kiddushin, right? Which is a new Kiddushin. So it should work. And that's why we're saying it doesn't work. If I only learned these two cases, the case of one Shaveh Pruta for two women, or the case of one woman with less than a Shaveh Pruta, Mishum de Ben Pruta lepachom Shaveh Pruta lokem lo linche, because it's such a small difference between a half of a Pruta and a Shaveh Pruta. But by a Katan Shekidesh, everyone knows that a Kiddushin of a Katan is nothing. If a child comes and gets married, it's klum. It's nothing. So I would have thought to say that when he's sending the presents, so for sure he's doing it for Kiddushin right now. Adaita the Kiddushin kameshaden. Kamashmalan comes teach you that he's only doing it on the first Kiddushin, and therefore it's nothing. There's no marriage. There's nothing here. So Itmar, it was stated, Ravuna says, Chosheshin lesivlonot. We are going to suspect for presents. Meaning when you come and you send a present, and we are going to come and we're going to suspect that really, maybe there's something of a Kiddushin here. And therefore, it's going to be a big problem. Which means that when you give a present to a woman, she's not a married woman, we could suspect that maybe you're doing Kiddushin over here. Maybe there's something here. So Amar Rabba says, Umotvina nashmaitin. So we could ask on our Mishnah. Our Mishnah Mefureshet says that even if he did send presents afterwards, it's klum. It's nothing. So what are you telling me now that you are going to suspect for a present that you give to a woman? Here our Mishnah said it's nothing. Answers the Gemara, no. Abaye answered, there was a reason. When you come and you get married, and then the marriage was not a good marriage, and you sent presents afterwards, I'm going to say that those presents afterwards were on basis of the first marriage. And therefore, since the first marriage was nothing, so the presents are nothing. But if you didn't get married at all, and you only sent presents, maybe those presents is a Kiddushin. maybe those presents is actually going to be a kiddushin to this woman. Ikadamni, there are those that say, Amar Rabba says, Mina minala. How do you know this? Kilektani time abas, we said the reasoning. Here he made a mistake. But in normal case, it is going to be a kiddushin. So you see from here, the regular presents could be a good kiddushin. It's going to be a problem. The Abaye says, Lomi baye kama. We didn't need such a case. Lomi baye be'alma. We don't need to in such a case where the lo nachil Torah kiddushin klal that we didn't go out to kiddushin at all. But even in our case, the nachil Torah kiddushin that we're talking about that she already went and got married. I would have thought to say that it is a kiddushin. Kamashmalan comes teach you. We're not going to suspect for sivlonot that they're considered kiddushin. And kolshkin in a place where they actually sent the sivlonot without the Masechet Kiddushin beforehand, it's nothing as well. So my haviala, what is the maskana then? Do we suspect if somebody is going to come and he's going to send sivlonot to his meshudechet, do we suspect for it or not? So Rav Papa comes and he says, Be'atra de mekadche v'hada mesable, in a place where they come and they do kiddushin and then they give the presents, we do suspect, right, that he was mitkavel lekadesh with savlonot. Right? Why? Because there's no minhag to send sivlonot without the kiddushin. So if they send the presents and then they do the kiddushin, lo chashin, and then we're not going to suspect, right, for such a thing. Right? But basically, it all depends on the minhag makom. It depends on the minhag. If the minhag was first they do the kiddushin and then they send the presents, so that there's no problem. But if it's the first send the presents, then the kiddushin, so then we're not going to suspect for such a thing. So says the Gemara, he says, 1 second, if they first do the kiddushin and then they give the sivlonot, so obviously we're going to say that sivlonot was the Shem kiddushin because they already did a kiddushin. So what are you talking about then? So says the Gemara, the rov. The majority of people, they first do kiddushin and then they send the presents. But the mute, they first do send the presents and then they do the kiddushin. So I would have thought to say, I'm going to suspect for the mute, right? And therefore, he comes and he says that he didn't have kavanah to do the kiddushin with his sivlonot. Kamashmalan comes teach you Rav Papa that we're going to say that really be'emet he did do it for kiddushin. He sent these presents for kiddushin. Ba mine Rav Acha bar Ravuna merava. So ask Rav Acha bar Ravuna from Rava. Huchsak shtar ketubah bashuk. Mau. What happens if they find a shtar ketubah in the shuk? And in the shtar ketubah was written, this person got married to this person. Do we suspect that really be'emet there was kiddushin and everything, just like it's written in the ketubah or not? Meaning we didn't even hear anything about the wedding, but we found the ketubah. And the ketubah has the names, has everything. Elmaleh, he says, just because she has a shtar of ketubah, she's an eshet ish? Right? Maybe be'emet no. So my havila, what's the maskana? So Ravashi says, in a place where they do the kiddushin and then they write a ketubah, we do suspect that that's what happened. That really be'emet, there was ketubah because she, but in a place where they first write the ketubah and then they do the kiddushin, lo chashin, we're not going to suspect for it. Which, by the way, even nowadays is that question, because nowadays, for example, we actually finish the ketubah even before the wedding. And the wedding, that's when they do the kiddushin. So we're actually finishing the ketubah before the wedding. So imagine, they finish the ketubah, and they're going to go on to the chuppah, then she runs away. Now there's a ketubah. But technically speaking, she was never married. So the ketubah was done before the marriage. So that's the difference over here. Here in the olden days, remember, there was a year difference between kiddushin, and then it was an niswin, so it was a little bit different. So he says, 1 second, if they do kiddushin and then they do the ketubah, obviously then, she's a married woman. So it says, they couldn't find a sofer. So I would have thought to say, Safra u'ditrame, that the sofer came to this place, and then he asked him to write the ketubah. So Kamashmalan comes teach you that we are going to suspect that really this person went and he did the ketubah, right? And he did it even before with the minhag ragil in that place, because he found the ketubah, and that's why he went and he found the sofer, and therefore the sofer came and he actually did the ketubah. Okay, Mishnah towards the bottom of Nun Amud Bet. The last Mishnah on the page says, "Amkadesh isha bita." If somebody's going to be mekadesh a woman and her daughter, or isha v'achota ka'achat, or a woman and her sister as one, ena mekudashot. They're not going to be mekudashot. It was a story with 5 women and 2 sisters. And a person came and he picked up an entire basket full of figs. And the te'anim and the kalkala were of theirs. It was of Shavit. He says, he comes and he tells, imagine, right? 5 women and there were 2 sisters. And a person comes and he takes the basket and everything. And he comes and he says, you guys are all married to me with this basket. One of them accepted the basket for all of them. The sisters are not married, right? Which means, right, the other ones are married to him, but not the sisters, right? Because we know that a person cannot get married to two sisters and one child. So therefore, right, the sisters are not married, but everyone else is married. So says the Gemara, from where do we learn this halakha? That a person that comes and he's going to be mekadesh a woman and another family member, they're not going to be mekudeshet. It's going to be in the same time. Amar Rabbi Merchama, the pasuk says, lo tikach litzror. What does that mean? You cannot take a woman and a sister to make them tzarot one to another. Tzarot are co-wives. The Torah says, so therefore, if they're going to become co-wives, it doesn't even help to one of them. Meaning, technically say fine, but maybe one of them at least should be married to him. And then, okay, then we have to decide which one or find out which one, whatever. Okay, fine. Then we'll break our heads over which one. But at least they want, no. It says the second that they would both become co-wives, it doesn't even help on one of them. So that's why the two sisters are not married. Everyone else is married except for the two sisters. So Elmaleh Rava comes and he says, Yachi, if so, I knew the that's what it says in the pasuk. Kiddushin lo tafseba karet nimchayev. He says, 1 second. If you cannot have kiddushin tofsim, how do you have karet then? If a person lives with two sisters, he gets karet. But how does he get karet if the kiddushin is not going to be tofsim? Elama Rava, but rather Rava says, Kra is lezeach razeh. The pasuk is talking about lotikach, one after another, which means that a person is going to be over on the isur of karet, even if it's going to be one after another, meaning that he divorced one and then he took the other one. Umatznitim kidraba, and our Mishnah is like Rabba. Rava says, Kol shenu bezeach razeh, afilu b'vatachat enu yichol. So he says, according to Rabba, he comes and he says, any din that you cannot do in one shot, right? Bezeach razeh, so then you can't even do it, right? Bevatachat. It's not going to be chal. So therefore, in our case, since the pasuk is telling you that you're not allowed to get married to a sister, right, after you already got married to another sister, and the kiddushim are not going to be tofsim, so if you're going to get married to the shtei achayot ka'achat, the kiddushim cannot be chal. Okay? So guf amarava, that's what Rabbi says. Kol shelo b'zeach hazeh afilu vatachat eno. So he says if it cannot be chal one after another, so even vatachat, it's not going to be chal. So Eitvei Abaya comes and he asks the following question. Hamarbe b'maaser, nun aleph amud aleph on the top, 51a on the top. Somebody that comes and he takes off as isur perotav, and he separates maaser more than what he should. Perotav into kanim u'maserot mekulkalin. The perot are going to be fixed, and you're allowed to eat the perot. But the maaserot, but the perot that were separated are not going to be mutarim ba'achila l'shum adam, because since you also have tevel in them, because basically what happened was that he separated maaser more than what he was supposed to take off of maaser. So therefore, what happens is he's got tevel and maaser mixed up together. So the leftover fruits he's allowed to eat, but what he separated, nobody could eat. Not even a kohen, not even a levi. Why? Because you've got tevel also there as well. So that's going to be a problem. The Gemara is going to ask why, and we're going to go back and forth to understand.